Good day, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on unleashing the potential of modern learning experiences. And we appreciate you joining us today. I'm your host, Joshua Gamo, and I'm excited to be here with Graham Glass, CEO and founder of Cypher Learn. So you're in for a fantastic presentation, and trust me, you'll be dazzled. So Graham, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us today.
It's great to be here. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, we're all interested in learning more about your insights on how organizations can leverage modern learning and ensure they do it correctly. I know that people are excited to ask questions, especially with the release of Copilot, but please know that you can drop them in the chat box. We can address those questions during the Q&A session. And we also have a lounge area to mingle with other attendees after the presentation. So from this point on, Graham, I believe you have the floor. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Joshua. So it's great to be here. Nice to see you all, members of the global chamber. My name is Graham Glass. I'm the CEO and founder of Cypher Learning, and I'm going to be talking today all about how to unlock the potential of a modern learning platform. Before I get started, just in case you're wondering, you see my T-shirt, TNNS. That actually stands for tennis. I'm a big Roger Federer fan. So just in case you're wondering, it's not some weird code word. It just means tennis. So let's get started. First of all, what I'm going to do, I'm going to introduce a little bit about Cypher Learning, but I guarantee that this is going to entertain you. You're going to really, really enjoy this. And the main reason is because I'm going to show you a bunch of magic. I'm not going to spoil the surprise, but I guarantee you are going to be pretty shocked in this presentation. So as I mentioned, it's all going to be about unlocking the potential of modern learning. So what do I mean by modern learning? So in order to describe that, I'm going to take a little step back and tell you a little bit about my past, because I am in fact an educator, even though I'm the CEO. So as an educator, I actually started teaching at University of Texas at Dallas many moons ago, teaching computer science. And I had a really enjoyable time teaching there. I found that I did have a knack for it. So I learned a little bit about what education in higher education is like. And then I started my own professional training company. And I was teaching computer science around America and in Canada. And I hired a lot of people to build courses. So obviously, if you're an educator, one of the core things that you do is you spend hundreds of hours building really cool courses for your target audience. So I've been there, done that when it actually comes to what it takes to be a really good educator. Then I went through a few cycles of different kinds of companies that were all high tech. So I started a company with distributed computing infrastructure. But around 11 or 12 years ago, I decided I'm going to found a company at the intersection of my two greatest passions, which is education and high tech. And I thought, well, if you're going to do this, building a learning platform makes really good sense, because I really wanted to fundamentally improve the way that people teach and learn, whether it's at school, university, or in business. So I took a look at what was available out there. So I'm not going to name competitors, but I looked at a lot of different learning platforms, and I have to say I was shocked about how bad they were. Poor user interface, poor experience, inability to create really cool courses, missing a lot of modern features. So I thought, okay, we're going to build Cypher Learning, and it's going to be dedicated to build the world's best modern learning platform. So that's what we've been doing, and I think we've actually done it, and I'm going to try and prove it to you in this presentation. So this is what I think about traditional learning management systems. If you look in the bucket, you might be able to figure out a couple of names there. I really think that they are pretty poor. So what we did is that we've spent a huge amount of time now trying to build something that I feel proud of, something that's beautiful and powerful and state-of-the-art. And of course, when I say state-of-the-art, artificial intelligence is now the big thing. So I'm going to be showing you some really cool things that I guarantee you have never seen before related to the intersection of education and artificial intelligence. And our feeling, generally speaking, is that if you are going to adopt a learning platform, in your company, what would you prefer? Do you want to be running in the flip-flops, chugging along, or do you want to be in some racing shoes? And our feeling is Cypher Learning Platform is like the racing shoes, obviously. So now I'll tell you a little bit about our overall philosophy, which we're calling human-centric learning. So if you have a look at how people want to learn, there's a variety of different situations. You know, the most boring situation is HR tells me I've got to take a compliance course. What a drag. Okay, let me open my laptop and take it. That's the one where that's the learning that you have to do whether you really want to or not. But then a majority of learning does not fall into that bucket. A majority of learning is, I'm in a business, I want to upskill. And I want to learn something new quickly, efficiently. I want that to be mastered so I can demonstrate that I actually did not only learn it, but I understood it, so that maybe my manager gives me kudos, or maybe I unlock the potential of a promotion. But I want it to be really, really efficient, concentrated, on-demand learning. And I want to be able to do this from anywhere, whether I'm standing in line for a pizza and I've got an odd moment to learn something, or whether I'm at my workplace. And, you know, I don't know about you guys, but I'm a voracious reader, a voracious learner. I'm learning stuff all the time. And the way that I learned stuff until recently was pretty inefficient. Like, is there a course online that I can take to learn this? Yes, but it's 4 hours and I don't want to spend 4 hours learning this thing that I should be able to learn in 5 minutes because I need it right now. Or I go into Google and do a Google search and I'm wading through pages and pages of sponsored content and out-of-date content, and it's not very efficient. But ultimately, what the modern learner wants to do is through a slick, beautiful interface, they want to learn what they want to know right now, efficiently. And I think everyone would agree upon that. Who doesn't want that? Now, one question is, how important is this to people? Do they really care that much? So what we did is we sponsored a survey and surveyed thousands of people about their own belief in terms of what's going on in their organization. And what we found was that the ability to upskill in the workplace, about 90% of people really, really value that, almost like medical benefits. And a majority of modern learners, which by the way, does not mean young learners, it just means people who, you know, are kind of forward thinking. They feel that if they don't have the educational opportunities at their organization to upskill, there is a high degree that they're going to start stagnating in their jobs and they're going to start looking around. So you don't really want that to happen. You want to keep people so they're always up to date. The other important thing, of course, is you want to create a dream team. So if you've got 10 people in your team and 2 of them are a little bit behind, you know, one option is, hey, you just let them go. But wouldn't it be nice and more positive if you provided them with a really nice way to develop new skills? So when it comes to building a platform, the first thing is you want it to be learner-centric. And I know that sounds quite obvious, but there are quite a lot of platforms out there that are not learner-centric. They're like top-down command and control. So for example, an administrator has a course, they upload the course, everyone gets, now you have to take this course and you do it and you're done. And there's very little opportunity for the learner to take control of their learning process. Another thing that you want to do is you want to make this really efficient through technologies like automation and artificial intelligence, because you can talk all day long about how beautiful you want your system to be and how great you want it to be. But if it just requires thousands of hours of work to get it done, then a lot of people are just not going to do it. Like the L&D department says, I'm overworked, can't do it. I don't have the budget. So so that's another area that you really need to focus on. Another one, and this is particularly good because you guys are Global Chamber, is that you have to infuse the human connection throughout your system. Because humans really enjoy learning with other humans. They enjoy group interactions, they enjoy Q&A sessions, they enjoy casual learning, formal learning. And, you know, Cypher Learning is a global company. We have team members in 23 countries right now. So one of the very cool things that I'm very proud of is we have a universal translator built directly into our platform. So if I speak English and I send a message to someone who speaks Korean, they will see it in Korean. And when they respond, I'll see it in English, and ditto with the forums. So there's a lot of stuff you can do to bring people together, because people learn better together. And then last but not least, it all has to be measurable. So you need to be able to get statistics and insights and completion rates and various reports to see how well people are learning and enjoying your system. But one of the things that we've found is people crave this kind of stuff. They are thirsty for a modern learning experience. And one of the things to know about Cypher learning is, because of our background, like I used to teach at higher education. I had a great time at high school, which was in the UK. I had a really good time building my professional training organization, that we have built our platform to be general purpose. So for example, the Cypher platform is used by McDonald's to train all the franchisees across Australia. It's used by Cordon Bleu to teach hospitality around the world. It's used by a whole, like 1,000+ businesses around the world doing all kinds of stuff, whether it's employee onboarding, customer training, partner training, product training, etc. But our platform is also very popular in higher ed and K through 12. So the entire public school system of the country of Qatar is running on the Cypher learning platform. So it's a very, very nice general purpose solution that can serve a lot of different scenarios. So we're getting pretty close to demo time, by the way, and this is where you're absolutely going to love it. But I do want to tell you just a little bit more about Cypher learning. So almost 1,000 customers worldwide, implementation in over 100 countries, over 5 million users, and that's growing very rapidly, and universal translator. So we are truly a global company. We have way more team members outside of the United States than inside the United States, as an example. So it's not like the rest of the world's just an afterthought. We are a global first company, if you like. And our revenue is fairly evenly split between the academia side and the business side. So we've got our feet in both areas that right now are innovating quite rapidly. And this is a little timeline. So back in 2009, that's where we first started. I launched the company out of San Francisco here in California, United States. And we started by focusing on academia. Then we released the same product, but also then upgraded to serve business. And then we grew very rapidly from there. So we received 40 million in funding back in 2021, thanks to all of our various successes. And there's quite a few things that are unusual about our platform. I think we're probably the only platform in the world that currently is world-class in both academia and in business. So we're getting, PeerSpot, #1 ranked LMS, Forbes in 2022, Forbes in 23, best employee onboarding platform, best product for employee training, Cody Award winner, you name it. And as you can see from the left, I'm not going to go through that because it would bore you to tears, but there is a tremendous amount of functionality in the platform. Here's a couple of things from Forbes. So we got 2 Forbes Awards year after year about fantastic user interface, really good for keeping employees engaged, very good for tracking employee performance. And also Brandon Hall Group, which is one of my favorite ones. So this is from the CEO of Brandon Hall, which is a very popular analyst company, saying, this is a supercharged next generation technology, a very cool tool. So thank you, Michael. Last couple of slides, and then we'll get into the meat of the presentation. We have some really strong partnerships. So you're probably familiar with Dell. Dell is the largest seller of hardware to the education industry worldwide. So they're like a major player. And when Dell goes in to try and win a deal, which is typically a huge deal, like with a country or a state or something, in the world of academia, you go with, here's the hardware, then here's the software. So for Dell, they had to pick the world's best learning platform to seal the deal. And they could have picked anyone, and they picked Cypher Learning. So we are the go-to partner for the learning platform for all these deals that Dell is going after. Similarly, in the case of Microsoft, we migrated our system so it can run on Azure as well as AWS. And we do all kinds of work with Microsoft now. So for example, in the country of Qatar, we teamed up with Microsoft to provide the entire country with their K through 12 education platform and underlying Azure infrastructure. And obviously we've got a long-term partnership with AWS and Google. And then we also have a lot of content partners. So we understand that a lot of people, they don't just want an empty platform. They want to populate it with a whole bunch of third-party courses in addition to their own. So we've got really strong partnerships with companies like Go1, Udemy, Coursera. So content from almost any platform you can actually embed directly inside of the Cypher learning platform. Last thing, we integrate with a lot of things. So we also understand that if you want to play well in the world of enterprise, you have to integrate with SAP and your various HRIS, ADP, tons of e-commerce platforms, all of these things. So we've got a massive number of integrations, all done through a drag and drop graphical workflow tool. So you can integrate the Cypher platform with almost anything bidirectionally. So now we get to the really fun part. So hopefully the first part of the presentation has given you a little idea about Cypher learning, modern cloud-hosted learning platform, doing great, lots of cool features, but why should you believe me? Here's why. So now I'm going to switch here, and hopefully you're going to see my screen now. So there's I'm not going to give like a massive product demo because we don't really have the time for that, and you're probably not interested anyway, but I do want to show you like some of the really cool main stuff. And the objective here is twofold, one of which is it's an education. I want you guys to see what AI can do because it is amazing and it's happening really, really fast. And the second thing I want to do is I want to give you a flavor for our platform so that if you are in the market for a modern learning platform, it gives you just enough of a taste to want to take another step and visit our website and learn more. So I talked about what the modern learner expects. And modern learner wants a beautiful user interface. They want to learn on demand. They want an enjoyable, engaging, modern experience. So I thought I would start by showing you what a typical course looks like inside of the Cypher learning platform. So this is a course on digital marketing. And we wanted our courses to be fun in the sense that we want them to be visually attractive, nicely organized, clear and easy to understand. We want them to be gamified. And by the way, when we say gamified, we don't mean, oh, at the end of the course, you get a badge. That's like rookie stuff. What we want is you finish the first module, you get 200 points towards level 1. You do really well in a quiz in module 2, you get another 200 points. You hit a particular level, you get an e-commerce coupon as a discount, for example, if you're selling courses. And you finish module 4 and you've mastered a certain thing, you get a badge. So we want there to be leaderboards, points, badges, levels, automated rules, so that you can really create a very cool ongoing experience. It's not just like badge at the end, that's kind of boring. We also wanted to provide a way that as an educator, you can script a really cool, fun journey through your course. So we have a technology called automation, which allows you to trigger one or more actions at almost any point within a course or a group or onboarding, you name it. So that being said, let me show you how these things come together in this course called digital marketing. So first of all, you can see that this course is built out of 10 modules. Each module has its own custom imagery to make it look really nice. And one of the things that we're a really big believer is something called competency-based learning. So it's not enough just to make a course that you go through and at the end it says, hey, you did great, congratulations. Ideally, what you'd like to be able to do is before you even create the course, come up with a list of fine-grained competencies that this course is going to teach you. So for example, if I'm teaching digital marketing, here are all the aspects of digital marketing that this course covers. Pay-per-click, search engine optimization, market research, email marketing, data visualization. These are all important parts of digital marketing. And ideally, what you would do then is create the content and make sure that each module covers one or more of these competencies, and that we create assessments like self-paced quizzes or written assessments or group projects if you're learning in cohorts, and tie all of these things together by competencies, so that as you go through the course, you can tell, Johnny is really good at SEO and pay-per-click, but Johnny is not that great at email marketing. And therefore, as you go through the course, you're tracking the user's digital learning profile, and you're figuring out their strengths and weaknesses in real time. Because if you can do that, then you can serve up through AI relevant content, additional add-on videos that will target those areas of weakness. And there are other vendors that just say, hey, here's a course in marketing, and if you do good, you're probably a little bit better at marketing. But our feeling is if you tie everything back to competencies, then you can track things at a much more fine grain. And competency-based learning is basically essential if you want to do real personalized targeted learning. Because how can you do personalized targeted learning if you don't know the individual strengths and weaknesses? Sounds kind of obvious, but almost no platforms actually support competency-based learning. So what we did in this course is we created this hierarchy of competencies, which I showed you here. And by the way, you can import them, export them. It's easy to reuse competencies. You can put them in your resources catalog. And then what we did is we created these modules. So here's Introduction to Digital Marketing. And I'm showing you the instructor view. The learner view is much more streamlined than this. And as you can see, as an instructor, what I did was I said, this module is going to teach, whoops, press the wrong button. This module it's going to focus just on the top level topic, digital marketing. And it's going to be comprised of 3 pages of content, and then a written assignment, and then a quiz. And because I wanted to show you what was possible, it also has a project, individual project, and a group project. And if I show you what a piece of content looks like, as you can see, it's very attractive. It's plain old HTML. We've got embedded images when appropriate. And I can kind of go through my course and get a feel. In this particular area, just a little introduction section. In this new area, we've got images, voice search. We've got video and influencer marketing. What is digital marketing? So we've got like a lot of really good content built into the system. And then as far as the quizzes go, for example, I won't go through all of them. If I go to a particular quiz, we entered a whole bunch of questions that are true or false questions or multiple choice or fill in the blanks. But these questions are aligned with specific competencies. So we know that if you are answering this particular question, we're going to be able to figure out whether you're good at search engine optimization or not. So when you build a course like this, you start with all the competencies. That's like the backbone of the course. Then you create your modules, which, as you can tell, are beautiful. Then for each module, you align it with the competencies, you create the content, you create the assessments, but you're still not done. So the next thing you want to do is you want to gamify it. So here's a game called Digital Mastery. And in this particular game, I came up with, here are the 5 levels you can go. So there's 200 points, 400 points. And as you get more points, you go up levels. And here are the levels. And this is where automation occurs. So I'm going to show you a little demo of automation. So let's just say that you want to trigger something when someone gets to 200 points and they become digital novice. So you can say, when this occurs, do the following things. So by default, I've configured things so that we do a little pop-up with a confetti. Congratulations, you have got this particular, you've reached this particular rule. And then I'm going to pop up another thing which says you've got this badge. So we created custom badges for each level, but you can do whatever you want. So when it comes to automation, you could award badges, certificates, e-commerce coupons. You can trigger third-party integration. So I might want to emit a badge through Credly for some kind of public credentials. If you're into XAPI, you might want to contact an XAPI server. You might want to trigger an enterprise integration through a webhook or a message queue. But there are a lot of different automation actions. So for example, you could say something like this. You can say, when you complete the course, completion action. So when you complete the course, it's giving you 300 points, sending you a message. Maybe I want to give out a certificate of completion as well. So I'm going to say, I want to award a certificate of completion when you complete the course. And it's completely configurable. Select the certificate. It's all customizable. Do you want a pop-up message? Do you want to customize the message if you want to? So you could say, hey, Graham, congratulations. And now when you complete the course, you now get a certificate of completion as well. But you can use automation almost anywhere in the system. When you join a group, hey, when you onboard an employee, if they're in California and they're in the sales organization and their language is Spanish, do X. So you can create really cool automation rules. And you can also create adaptive learning scenarios. So for example, you can say, if you do really well in the first quiz, in the first module, then hide some of the more remedial content because you don't need it. Or if you do really badly in the first quiz, I want to include some additional advanced material that nobody else would see. So you can create really cool journeys through your educational content. So while you're listening to this, my guess is you're probably thinking, this looks incredible, but oh my gosh, this must have taken hundreds of hours to create a course because it's comprehensive, right? Learning competencies, the whole hierarchy of those things, the imagery, finding the videos, creating the content, creating the quizzes, aligning the questions to the competencies, building the assessments, building the gamification, building the automation. So here is the cool punchline, guys. When I started this webinar today, this course did not exist. Let that sink in. This course was built using AI in 10 minutes using our Cypher Copilot feature. And I hope you're as blown away as I was, because when I started getting involved in this project, I had no idea that AI could do this. I always thought that AI was relegated to, hey, build a PowerPoint, you know, of AI, or build me an image. But what we have shown through Copilot is that you can create an amazingly sophisticated state-of-the-art course in 10 minutes through AI. Now, we are not claiming that it does 100% of the job. So I mentioned I used to be a professional educator. And I used to spend hundreds of hours building courses at university and for businesses. And I have my own style. I like certain kinds of projects. I like certain kinds of anecdotes. There are certain order that I want to present things. Like there's a lot of personalization that I have as an expert educator that I infuse into courses. So the philosophy of Copilot is Copilot's going to build 80% of the course for you in 10 minutes for a cost of under $10. That's the other thing that blows my mind. To build this actual course you're seeing here was less than $10. And then an instructor can go in and customize it however they want. So everything that Copilot builds is editable. So I'll give you an example. Let's just go in here. You know, maybe I want to change that order around. No big deal. Maybe I want to go into this section and I want to edit it because I don't like part of it. So I can go in and edit this. It's an HTML editor, do whatever I want. No problem at all. So it's 100% editable. So now just imagine if you're in the L&D staff or you're in line of business and you want to create a course on digital survival skills, or, you know, what's it like to live in Manila? You know, who knows, you might be in a tourist board. You might be working for United Nations, cranking out 1,000 courses for 50 countries. And before I forget, we can generate a course in 50 languages. Doesn't have to be English. You can generate a course in Spanish, Italian, Arabic, Chinese, doesn't make any difference. So our feeling is you build the course, you get 80% done in 10 minutes, and then you go in and then you make whatever modifications you want to get to your final result. But you will save, our guesstimate is about $11,000 per course by using Copilot, which is a massive return on investment, given the fact that it only costs $10. Now, the next question you're probably asking is, do I need training in AI to do this? Do I need to learn ChatGPT? What do I have to do? The answer is no. We've made it super easy. So let me just show you what it's like to use Copilot. I want to build a course on 3D printing, of which, by the way, I know absolutely nothing about at all. So 3D printing, but I want to get assistance from Copilot, just a little checkbox, and then watch what happens. So Copilot goes, oh, he wants to add a course. Let me help. So I can say, what's the topic? 3D printing. And I can say, you know, include information about printing metal. Because I know with 3D printing, people think of plastic, but you can actually print 3D metal as well. What's the audience? Maybe this is for a school, for teenagers. Do you want a Socratic method or direct instruction? Maybe I want to make it kind of casual. I don't want it to be very academic, it's a casual style. As I mentioned, you can pick your language. I'm just going to pick English. You can also have the ability to generate images synthetically. So by default, what it does, it uses behind the scenes, it uses some whole bunch of different AI services. It's not just using ChatGPT. So it'll use an AI service to try and find on the web a few images that might match particular situations. And it does its best job. But sometimes you might want to go, well, I don't want to worry about copyright because we don't grant you copyright for everything you find. You know, maybe you need to purchase the image, maybe not, or just replace it. But I can say I want synthetic images and it'll generate them through AI. You can generate brand new competencies, or you can link it to an existing competency standard. So if your industry, like you're in Europe and there's an ESCO standard, you can just say, use an existing competency. And we've got built into our competency library, US and ESCO standards and Filipino standards, and you can just say, build it according to these competencies, and it will align the course against them. In the content, you know, maybe I want a glossary, but I don't want a study guide. I want videos. Maybe I do want quizzes, but I don't want projects, and I do want it gamified. So at that point, what I've done, I've just basically filled in a form and I say, go. And it says this will take about 276 credits, which is equivalent of about $3 US, by the way, which is really inexpensive. And you say create. And now Copilot's doing its thing. So I'll touch base in a little bit and just see how Copilot's doing. Typically, it takes around 10 minutes to build a course, sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more. But it usually gets a lot of the basic stuff done in about 2 or so minutes. So I'm just going to chat a little bit, then we'll see how it's going. And then I want to show you another thing related to skills development. So hopefully you've got an idea. You know, I'm going to do a Q&A session with you guys, so you can ask tons of questions about this thing. But the general idea is just to give you a feel for AI is here now, and it is way more sophisticated than most people realize. And Cypher Learning is by far the most advanced AI-powered learning platform in the world. There's nothing else like this. So I hope this has been quite an entertaining thing for you to say. One of the things, by the way, is that when we do these demos, I call them the Sixth Sense demo, because if you've seen that movie with Bruce Willis, that's that movie where you only realize at the very, very end that Bruce Willis has actually been dead the entire movie. So it's a shocker. And what I like about that particular demo I showed you is you go through the whole course, but you don't give away the fact that the course was built during the webinar until the very end. It's kind of like that Sixth Sense twist. So let's just see how it's going on 3D printing. So it still looks like it's still chugging away in the competencies. Sometimes the AI gets a little bit busy, so it takes a few minutes to get around to it. But we'll come back again in a minute or so. It's been chugging away about 1 minute. Estimated time for the whole course is about 9 minutes. So let me tell you a little bit about the second thing that I'm going to show you guys. So obviously, if you want to have a learning platform, you've got to have educational content. That goes without saying. And we can pull in content from any kind of third party. We support SCORM, we support LTI. So it's really easy to get third party content into our platform. And we partner with companies like GoOne to make that really easy. You also have to build your own courses. And so as I showed you, one of the things that we've tried hard to do is to make it really efficient to build courses. Coming out later this year, by the way, will be the ability to upload private documents and build courses on them. So for example, if you sell a particular product, which is not on the public web, but you've got a PDF all about that product, you'll just be able to upload it to Copilot and say, build me a course on this. And it will build you a really nice, modern, engaging, gamified version of your product manual, but built into a course. But the second part is, how do you then tie this all together to allow upskilling and skills development? And our skills development is based on the philosophy of competency-based learning, which is, if I know what competencies you want to get good at, so there's the concept of intent, and I also know, based on assessment, which competencies you're good at and which ones you're not good at, I can therefore do a gap analysis quite easily and say, well, Graham wants to be a digital marketing manager, and he's got these 20 competencies already, but these last 5 are lacking. Let me now find courses and groups that teach those missing 5 competencies and recommend them to Graham. So I'm not recommending you just blindly take a course in marketing because you want to get good at marketing. It's like, watch this specific video because it will allow you to master that one competency that you are currently lacking. And that's the whole idea of the modern learning experience. Learners don't want to just take massive courses. They want concentrated on-demand training. So 3D printing, so we can see how it's going right now. So as you can say, it's done a really nice job of figuring out what are all the competencies involved, including, by the way, metal printing. So you remember I gave it a little hint, include metal printing. So it did a nice job there. So these are all the things that you would typically do in a course on 3D printing. Now what it's doing, it's working on the second phase, which is what are all the modules and their imagery and the titles. That normally takes about another minute. So we'll come back to that in just a minute as well. There's another really important thing about using AI and using Copilot, which was not obvious to me when we started working on this project. So if I think about how I used to build courses, both in business and in academia, I would typically start by enumerating all the things that I wanted to teach. And then I would come up with a course plan. But one of the things you'll realize as an instructional designer is there's lots of different ways to teach the same thing. So for example, let's just say you're teaching a course on Star Trek, just to make it fun. So you could teach a course on Star Trek that goes in chronological order, like the original Star Trek, and then Star Trek Next Generation, and what's it called, Deep Space 5 or something like that. So you could teach it that way. You could teach it based on the characters. There's Captain Kirk, Captain Jean-Luc Picard. You could do it based on the ship type. You could base it on episodes. There's so many different ways to teach the same course. But it takes a long time to build one of those variations. So typically what you do is you place a bet right at the beginning, like, okay, I think this is going to be the right way to do the course. And then you just build it out. And maybe halfway through the course, you go, this is not really panning out as I thought, but by that time it's too late. But with Copilot, powered by AI, you can generate 3 to 5 versions of the same course and then start with the one that's best. And one of the features of AI, and this is a feature, not a bug, is that every time that you generate a course, it's going to be a little bit different. It's kind of creative if you want to anthropomorphize. So if I build 3 courses on Star Trek, I will get 3 different variations on how to teach that course for a total of around $30 or less, 3 complete courses built from scratch. And then I can just browse through the 3 and go, that's the one I like. You don't have to delete the others. You just archive them because they have useful stuff. Maybe the imagery is really good. Maybe there are certain phrases that you really like in the other courses. And then you start with the one that you like the most, and then you invest your valuable time and effort into the one you like the most. So much like in the world of software, people like agile development, we think that Copilot enables agile development of courses, which is a really, really, it's kind of a breakthrough, really. It wasn't possible before. And it certainly wasn't possible if Copilot cost $5,000 per course, no one's going to build three copies. But if it's $10 a course, then at that point it becomes feasible. I think it's getting very, very close to the second part. I'm going to give it just a minute because it would be nice if it does it. If it doesn't, we'll bypass this part. But like I say, typically it does its magic in about 10 minutes. Couple more things I'm just going to touch upon before I show you skills development. One of the things is that we're very upfront about the fact that AI is not perfect. There might be mistakes. Now, to be honest with you, I haven't actually seen any mistakes so far. And I've typically built courses on areas that I'm familiar with, like it's either TV series or digital marketing or software engineering or particle physics. And I haven't actually seen any errors at all. But once again, we don't claim that this is 100% error-free. That's why Copilot is not designed to replace domain experts and instructional designers. Its goal is to save you massive amounts of time. So you typically create the course, that's the 80%, and then you go in and then you make a few little edits. And here we go, 3D printing. And this is the one using synthetic AI imagery. You can equally well pick Google search imagery if you like. This is just showing another option. So you can see it's done a really nice job. Introduction to 3D printing, getting started, advanced modeling, printing in various industries, a summary. This is pretty nice. And I found myself educating myself using Copilot these days instead of searching the web. So if I want to learn 3D printing, I don't Google search anymore. I just go to Copilot and say, teach me 3D printing, and that's what it does. So we're about to switch gears and take a look at skills development. I will mention one other thing, which is this is just Copilot 1.0 for content creation. We have so many mind-blowing things between now and the end of the year. This is just getting started. So we're going to be releasing support for micro-learning bite-sized formats. As I mentioned, intranet support. Course critiquing, where you can upgrade your existing courses and upgrade them to something more sophisticated. We're going to be helping instructors to do grade recommendations if they're evaluating assessments. And we're also going to be doing a lot on the learner side with things like automatic built-in tutoring and automatic on-demand learning, whether there's a course or not. I'll be able to say, teach me 3D printing. And if there's no course available, there's no course license, no problem. It's going to pop up a learner-oriented micro-learning course on 3D printing. So just getting started. This is just amazing stuff. Another thing we're going to be doing is supporting entire programs. So Copilot, build me an entire program on an MBA, and it will actually build you all the various courses automatically and string them together into a learning path to theoretically earn an MBA. So that's just some of the stuff we've got planned for Copilot. So the last thing I'm going to end on, and then I'll take any questions you've got, is talk about the whole skills development. So I'm going to switch here into a learner view. So here's Sally Johnson. And I guess Sally is a cat lover. So I'm going to go and log in as Sally. So here's what the learner interface looks like. So there's a little welcome widget here, basic things like calendars and to-do list. This is what most people are familiar with, the course widget. So these are the courses that Sally is currently enrolled in. Here's the status. She's 83% through design patterns. There's a couple of courses she has to take for compliance. But this is the one that's really cool, which is called goals. So these are learning goals. This is where Sally will say, I want to get really good at X. So Sally's telling the intent, and these goals can be job titles. So I want to get really, really good at being a software architect, which might be my current job, or it's a job I aspire to. Or they can be groups of competencies, like I want to get really good at 3D modeling, which is simply a set of competencies. It's not a job title per se. And all of those learning goals have competencies associated with them. So for example, if I say I want to be a digital marketing manager, then there'll be a set of competencies which could either be from the library or auto-generated or created by your L&D staff. Doesn't make any difference. And then now the system knows that Sally wants to master these competencies. Now, it might well be that she's already taken a course and she's answered a bunch of questions that are tied to SEO. So we know that Sally is really good at SEO already. So it's like, check. But let's say pay-per-click, she hasn't shown mastery of. So at that point, our recommendations engine is going to be making recommendations like, hey, take this course because it will help you to get better at digital marketing. So once we know your intent, and those intents are mapped to competencies, now we can automatically recommend you courses and groups and resources to master those competencies. And it's very fluid. You can add a new competency whenever you want, and now you'll start getting additional recommendations. So for example, in this case, Sally says, I want to become a digital marketing manager. And if I click on that learning goal, it will show you, here are all the competencies associated with that particular goal. Here are the measurements that we've made on your mastery of these competencies. And as you can see, a lot of them are green for go, 100%, 98% rating, but there are a few missing. So you're only actually about 53% way there. But it will generate you recommendations based on that gap analysis. So this is a way that people can sign up, they can take compliance courses, they can enroll in other special courses, but they can also get on-demand upskilling based on their learning goals, which is, once again, we think this is a critical part of being a modern learning platform. And one of the cool things, because I mentioned we're human-centric, we want to bring people together, is that anyone with the same learning goal is automatically brought together so that you can converse in a Q&A forum. So if you're a global company and you have 1,000 people with all want to be digital marketing managers, we can bring them all together so they can help each other or share really good resources to all help each other towards those learning goals. So I hope you've hopefully this has been entertaining. That was my number one goal, is to entertain you. Hopefully it's also opened your eyes to what AI can do in the here and now. And I also really do hope, putting on my CEO hat, that now you might be interested in learning a bit more about Cypher learning. So as I think we might have put here at the end of the show, there is a Copilot demo that you can see in our site. And there is actually a link here, this engaging course in under 10 minutes. If you go there, then you will be able to actually get a demo and learn more about things. So with that said, it's now Q&A time. So I'm going to switch into unsharing mode and take any questions that you might have.
Hey, Graham, wow, that's a fantastic presentation. Copilot, truly a game changer. And a fun story, when I showed this to my former dean, he was like, I like this. And he was sharing it with his colleagues right away. And he even finished your two Copilot videos. And it seems like he went into a rabbit hole of good stuff. You know how you find something awesome and you want to share it immediately with your friends, but you want them to know that you found out about it first. So it's truly incredible. It really moves people,
I agree.
I agree. Copilot.
Wow. I mean, I was part of the team that built it, and I'm still amazed. It's like, wow, does it really do that? Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that the people are psyched, with what's about to come, with the next future innovations of Copilot.
Yeah.
And with that being said, like to conclude this presentation, we move forward to Q&A. Like now that the 80% of the work is done, like what piece of advice could you give educators to ensure that they make the most out of that 20%?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. I would say, so my overall view about a really great educator is someone who motivates and inspires people. That's the number one thing. Because if somebody is inspired and motivated, they will learn whatever it takes to get good at something. And a lot of what it takes to motivate someone are personal anecdotes. So when I used to teach at university, and then when I taught in industry, a lot of what I brought to the table was really cool motivational stories, things that really got people jazzed. And everyone's been in a class with a boring instructor, just reads from the book, blah, 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 sends you all to sleep. But the instructor that comes in with a twinkle in their eye and starts sharing these cool anecdotes and, why is that relevant? Well, let me tell you a story in my life that saved my bacon by learning this. That's the stuff that really matters. So when it comes to the 20%, a lot of it is, how can I inject my own personality and anecdotes into this course to really bring it alive and make it relevant? That's one thing. Another thing, there's almost always going to be some degree of customization. So if you're teaching in a certain corporate environment, which is very relaxed and casual, then there might be some adjustments that you want to make to the material or the tone of voice to make it fit in with your corporate culture. Or if you're a very formal environment, well, that phrase is a little bit chatty. Let me just tighten it up. But in future versions of Copilot, we're even going to have tools to help you with the last 20%. So you might see something, hey, let's condense that. Just select the condense and I'll just condense it for you. Find me another image, make that image synthetic, do this, do this, do this. So even that last 20%, we're going to try and get that down to 10%, 5% over time. But I'm a really big believer, though, that you're not going to replace, good instructors. They're like magic.
Excellent answer. Like, thank you for that, Graham. And I believe we can now move to the Q&A. We have a question actually here. So he's asking, how long does it take for a training pro to learn? Wait, using Copilot?
How to do it. So to actually create a course using Copilot, to learn how to do that is about 5 minutes. Because literally, I showed you just go course add, use Copilot, fill in the blanks, done. That's it. So to actually build an entire course from end to end, training wise, it's about 5 minutes. And that 5 minutes is just familiarizing yourself with what are the options in that form. Like you don't need to know anything about AI. You'd have to know anything about ChatGPT. It does use a little bit of ChatGPT. It's not all ChatGPT, but it uses some. You don't have to know anything about ChatGPT. It's super easy. So the area though that we want to encourage people with, there's a section in our help called best practices. And what it says is that when you use Copilot, here are some recommended approaches. So the number one best practice is don't just build one version of a course. Build between 3 and 5 versions before you do anything, because it's so fast and so cheap. And that way you start with the best variation. That's the number one lesson learned. And people are not familiar with that. They're just like, I build a course. Oh, it's okay. I would have done things differently, but I'll use it. No. If you build 5 courses, I guarantee you will find one that totally speaks to you. You'll be really happy with it. And then the amount of modification you've got to make is going to be pretty minor. And then the second thing I would say is that Cypher platform has got a lot of really cool functionality built in. And so, for example, we do automatically gamifier, but maybe what you want to do is you want to go into module 2 and say, but if you do really well in this quiz, then you don't really need to take module 4. So you can use automation to then add some additional adaptive learning features into your course if you want to. You don't have to. You can just make it go through linearly. Everyone has the same experience. But once you get familiar with the power of Cypher platform, then you can start, augmenting. I also want to clarify that everything that I showed you today, you can build manually. So you can build a course and just say, add a module, what's the name of the module, put the image, you know, every single thing that Copilot does, you can do by hand. So Copilot, what it's really doing is it's generating content. It's like your researcher system. It's finding imagery and videos and creating images super fast. It's assembling it all super fast. It's wiring together gamification and competency super fast. But it's not doing anything that you could not do yourself if you really wanted to. And, you know, a year ago, this is how everyone built courses. No one was using AI because it was really bad. But now, why waste your time? Why not save yourself $11,000 a course and hundreds of hours and then just work in the 20%? But at a high level, Copilot is unbelievably simple. 5 minutes is all it takes.
Excellent, excellent. Great answer, Graham. So I think we have the next question, and I think this this was sent ahead of the webinar, but can this be exported, like the course creation from Copilot?
So there's two ways to reuse Copilot. There's the old way and then there's the new way. So the old way is there is a standard called common cartridge format, which allows the export of content generally. So all the modules, all the content, the quizzes, the written assessments, and you can export it as it's basically a zip file. And then you can import it into any other system that supports common cartridge format. However, a lot of those systems don't support competency-based learning. They don't support automation. They don't support gamification like we do. So you would get a simplified version of the course, but it is portable. So you could export it. Sorry, you can export it and import it into any other platform that supports common cartridge format. The modern way is to use something called LTI. So LTI stands for Learning Tools Interoperability. And it's an industry standard for taking a third-party tool that supports LTI and embedding it into any platform which can consume LTI tools. So basically, an LTI tool can be embedded inside of any LMS that supports LTI. Now, Cypher platform has been an LTI consumer for years. So if you have a piece of LTI content from a third party, or you have an LTI assessment or a virtual reality simulator that's LTI, you can plug it directly into your courses. But recently, we have now become the only mainstream learning platform that is also an LTI provider, which means that you can build a course using Copilot and take a URL, and using just that URL, you can plug it into any learning platform that can consume LTI, and the entire Copilot course will appear in that third-party platform. And it will appear in that platform, but it's actually hosted on Cypher platform. So the nice thing is you get gamification, automation, the full power of the Cypher platform, even though it might be hosted inside of some other learning management system. So that's the new way. And that's why publishers love Cypher platform, because they can build super modern courses with all the bells and whistles, and then they can make them available to universities and businesses who are using any learning platform that supports LTI, and they only need one copy that they can work on, which is hosted in the Cypher platform.
Awesome, awesome stuff. So I guess we've exceeded the original time, but we can cater one last question here. So how can organizations, measure the success of their learning programs? I think we can end with that question.
Yeah, so I would say that the number one measure is really engagement. So there's a lot of courses that are dull, boring. And if you run statistics and get insights, you'll notice that a lot of people come to the course to begin with, and then the visits per day and the completion rates go way down. And that's a sign of a course that's lame. So we've got built-in analytics, we've got built-in dashboards, there's built-in ad hoc reporting. So you can get statistics on how well people are engaging and completing your courses. And that's really that's the most obvious way of figuring out how successful your courses are. We've got a lot of empirical data as well, which brings us a high degree of confidence that the functionality in Cypher platform gets superior engagement. So for example, the country of Qatar, their K through 12 public school system uses Cypher platform. So they've got massive numbers of kids and teachers engaging with it every day. And they have the largest gamification setup in the world. So they've got like hundreds of thousands of people all playing a game where you get points and badges based on completion rates, badges, points, and also gamifying the teachers so that the more courses that you evolve and the more resources you share, the more points you get. And they saw something like a 30% increase in engagement simply by using the gamification aspect of the Cypher platform.
Wow, this is a great session. So thank you again, Graham, for this insightful webinar, and to all our attendees. We appreciate you joining us, and I hope you all found this webinar helpful. And a special thanks, of course, to our partner, Global Chamber, for collaborating with us in this webinar, and to all the members who attended. Thank you. Have a great rest of the day, and don't forget to visit our lounge area. And yeah, if you want to learn more about Copilot, just visit our website. So we'll see you soon.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.